Hi kids, welcome to Chapter 10, Lesson 4. The topic of this lesson is how do you find the surface area of a triangular prism? So again, we're going to be counting squares because area is squares. And remember that a triangular prism is something that looks like this. It's got parallel and identical bases that are triangles. I have another triangular prism that I wanted to show you just to model what we're trying to find today. Here's a triangular prism that's built, and I know that you looked in the lab before this lesson. You explored how to make a net or a flat pattern for triangular prisms. Well, here's an example. If I take this triangular prism and I unfold it, it's going to look like this. I'm going to have 3 rectangles and 2 triangles, and again, if I fold this back up, counting all those squares, that would be the surface area of this triangular prism. The area of this rectangle, the area of this rectangle, the area of this rectangle, and then the area of 2 identical triangles. So again, I fold it up, this becomes the back, here's the top, and here is our triangular prism. 3D. 2D, and just by folding we can make it into a 3D triangular prism. Alright, let's show how we find the surface area of that shape. So the first thing I'm going to have you do is do some drawing with me, so listen close. I'm going to come down, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 squares. Again, I'm using grid paper, so you're welcome to do that. I'm going to come down 5 squares, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and I'm going to make a triangle that is 3 units across. Okay, so 1, 2, 3, 2 units tall. And then I'm going to find a ruler, and I'm going to connect that line right there. So I've made a triangle. Now, from this corner, what I want you to do next is to count up 2 and then over 2 and make a dot right there. Just a dot. Not going to draw any lines yet. From this dot, I want you to go 2 boxes up, make another dot, and from this corner dot right here, I want you to count 3 units and make another dot right there. Okay, so that's what you should have on your paper. Now, the next line, follow closely what I'm doing for the next lines, because some of them are going to be dashed and some of them are going to be solid. This corner to this dot, I'm going to make a solid line. So using my ruler, I'm going to connect that, making it a solid line. From this dot to this dot, I'm going to make a solid line. So I'm going to connect those using my ruler. Okay, and finally, from this dot to this dot, I'm going to make that a solid line as well. Okay, now the rest of the lines that we're going to draw are going to be dashed lines, because in a real triangular prism you wouldn't see these, they would be on the other side. So I've still got that dot right there. I'm going to draw a dashed line down from that corner to here. So I'm going to, again, this one's dashed. Like that. From that dot, I'm going to make another dashed line over to this corner. And then finally, from this corner to the dot, I'm going to make another dashed line. So now we've got a true 3D triangular prism. We would see these lines if we were looking at it, but those lines, the dashed lines, would be through the object itself. So again, I'll kind of make this into the same shape, roughly. It's like this. I would not see the lines, the dashed lines, through the object. So, next, I'm going to tell you some units. This line right here is 6, and this is a 9. This line is 12, and this line is 10.8. And the hardest part about working with surface area with triangular prisms is figuring out what dimensions match up. So I'm going to use some color to help my thinking here. This line right here, the 6 line, is that. I'm going to make that orange. The 9, I'm going to make that pink. The 12, this line I'm going to make blue. And finally, this line right here I'm going to make green. Kind of the slanted line, 10.8, that's green. So now I've got colors that match up to the dimensions. This is a 6, that makes this a 6, this is a 12, that's a 12, this is a 10.8, this is a 10.8. Those are the same lines, just on the other side of the figure. Now what I want you to do is follow along with me as I unfold that. So what we're going to do now is imagine we've got that figure all folded up, and we're going to unfold this prism into a flat pattern. So we're going to draw a flat pattern, something similar to that. Okay, so let's see, come down 1, 2, 3... Come down 3 squares from this drawing. So I'm going to come down 3 squares, and I'm going to make a rectangle that's 3 by 2. So 3 units across, 2 down. I've got a rectangle like that. Next, I'm going to make another rectangle, or a rectangle that will happen to be a square. Okay. And now I'm going to draw another rectangle this way, and it's going to be about 3.5 units. 2, 3.5. And finally, I'm going to draw a triangle. From this line, I'm going to come up 2 spaces, and I'm going to come down 2 spaces, and then I'm going to use my ruler to connect this corner to this corner right here. Like that, and I'm going to do the same thing right here. Now, if I were to unfold this, it would look something like this. Now the tricky part is where's this 9 go? Where's the 6 go? Where's the 12? Where's the 10.8? That's the hardest part. So you should really use some color, and if you want to sketch out these flat patterns to help your thinking, you sure can. So I'm going to start with this triangle. Okay, if I look at this triangle, this is a 6, so that makes this a 6. Here's a 9, so that makes this line a 9. So I'm going to use my color again. So that 6, that part of the triangle would be right here. That makes this also the same line. Okay, and this pink 9, that would be this line right here. Same with this one. Now, how about the 12? Imagine if I unfold that. The 12 is actually going to be this line. So this line would be the 12 if I were to unfold that. That's the 12. And that's the same line as this line. All of these are 12s. It's the same line all the way across. And finally, the slanted line, that's this line, that's the 10.8. that's a 10.8. Now imagine if I were to fold, if this is the bottom, I fold this up, I fold this triangle up, and I fold this up, then this part right here would be kind of the ramp. It would fold up, and this right here would be the same as this. So it's looking like this. So kind of visualize this flap comes up, triangle up, and then this rectangle right here, this edge is going to be the same as the slant. That's this part right here. So that green, that's also a green. So now I'm going to go label all these amounts. So the blue line is 12. The pink line, these are 9s. All of these blue lines are 12. The orange is a 6. The green slanted line is a 10.8. And what about this line? If I fold that up, it's going to match this triangle, so I can also make this is a 6. It's going to meet this triangle when that folds up. So I'm going to draw, this line is also an orange, which is a 6. So this is a 6, and so is this. Those are both 6 lines right there. Okay, so now we've got our drawings, and before we go through the surface area formula for a triangular prism, your hidden treasure for today. The hidden treasure for today is, goes back to one of our earlier chapters. Define what an integer is. Look at your notes, back through your notes, look in your glossary, search it on the internet, look at the math dictionary for kids. What's an integer? And I would like you to give an example of an integer and something that is not an integer. Okay, so that's hidden treasure for this lesson. Okay, so we've got our drawings. Now let's get to our formula. Surface area of triangular prisms. Okay, so what we're doing is finding the area of all these shapes. You're always going to have 2 triangles and 1, 2, 3 rectangles. In fact, I will number them. This is rectangle 1, this is rectangle 2, this is rectangle 3. So your formula, it's kind of a big one, but it should look, this is what your work should look like. And I'm going to kind of, instead, usually my work goes down. Today I'm going to kind of, it's going to go across a little bit. So you should always have 2 triangles. You are always going to have 2 triangles in your surface area for a triangular prism. Always. So that the formula for area of a triangle is base times height divided by 2. You're going to have 3 rectangles, so you're always going to have 3 rectangles. Here's rectangle 1, rectangle 2, rectangle 3. Doesn't matter what triangular prism, what it looks like. If it is a triangular prism, tall, fat, skinny, wide, you're always going to have these shapes. 2 identical triangles and 3 rectangles. What's the formula for area of a rectangle? All 3 of these are the same. It is base times height. Base times height. Base times height. Now, let's fill in. So here's formula for each thing. Now we're going to do the work, filling in the numbers. So, look at the triangle. Base times height. Well, if I'm just looking at the triangle right now, this could be the base, and this would be the height. So 9 is the base, 6 is the height. I'm going to plug those numbers in. 9 times 6 divided by 2. 9 times 6 is 54. 54 divided by 2 becomes 27 units squared. So that's the area of a triangle. However, we have 2 of those triangles, so I'm always going to list this area twice. The area of this triangle is 27 units squared. The area of this triangle is 27 units squared. So make sure you've got, after you find the area of a triangle, write it down twice, because there's always going to be 2 of them. So now let's look at our rectangles. Rectangle 1, base times height. So that makes, this is a 6, this is a 9. So for rectangle 1, base times height is 6 times 9, which turns into 54 units squared. Look at rectangle 2 in the middle. The base is 9, the height is 12. Whoops, I made a mistake here. Let's go back to rectangle 1. This is a 6, this is a 12. And 6 times 12 is not 54. The area of rectangle 1 should be 72. 6 times 12 is 72. Sorry about that. Okay, now let's go to rectangle 2. Base is 9, the height is 12. Now I know some kids might think, well, this 9, if this is a 12 and that's a 9, that doesn't look right. Again, we're not going by looks. We are going by what we've labeled our drawings. This is a 9, that's a 12. Don't get hung up on that. In our drawing, this 9 actually looks bigger than the 12. We're always going by how it's labeled, not the looks. Okay, so this rectangle, this is a 9, this is a 12. Base times height, 9 times 12. Type that into your calculator, you're going to get 108 units squared. Got one more rectangle, rectangle 3. The base is 10.8. The height is 12. So again, get out your calculator. 10.8 times 12. Put that in your calculator. You're going to get 129.6 units squared. 129.6 units squared. Let's kind of fix this a little better. All right, the last step. You might be able to guess what it is. I'm going to combine all these shapes into our overall surface area, because here's what it looks like. It's all the shapes put together. When I fold this up, I'm figuring out how many squares for the whole thing. So I need to add 27, 27, 72, 108, and 129. I need to total all that. Triangle, triangle, rectangle, rectangle, rectangle. The total, which is adding, I total all that up and I get 363.6 units squared. Remember, area is always square units. That's how many squares it would take to build that triangular prism. Okay, so that's pretty much it for lesson 4. There is one more lab and one more lesson, so we're kind of getting close to the end of chapter 10. Start reviewing previous lessons, re-watching stuff you don't understand. And again, I've been emphasizing this whole chapter, formula work units. So when you have a triangular prism, it's a lot of work. 2 triangles and 3 rectangles total together. So this is what your work should be looking like when you have a triangular prism and you are trying to find the surface area. Show your work like this. Okay, formula work units. 3 363.6 units squared. All right, that does it for lesson 4. I will see you again soon.